I don't know what this does, but it's showtime.
Hey everybody, welcome back to part 2 of me rebuilding my first small block. In today's episode, we're going to be cleaning it up, giving it a nice fresh coat of paint, and putting on accessories such as the intake, the water pump, the harmonic balancer, all the pulleys, valve covers. So stick around, it's going to be a good one. I've soaked down the motor in mean green, and there is no toxic fumes, so you don't need a respirator, unlike me after Taco Bell. So we're just going to use some wire brushes, some hot soapy water, and start scrubbing.
But why are you doing this?
To get all the rust and grime and stuff off before we paint it.
Oh, you're going to paint it.
Yeah.
Cool.
How they explain this. I guess we need a refresh.
As you were.
The next step before we paint everything is to mask off any open holes and spark plugs left over from any other motors, and masking tape over exhaust ports, metal part of the crank that comes out of the timing cover, and then the water pump holes. Now it's time for color.
What you doing now?
Well, I masked off the areas beside the groove that is cut into the balancer. Now, on the Vortex, they left this groove, and then if you look on the timing cover, there's a little tab or slot, so you can set it to TDC when you're working on it, because the computer pretty much takes care of your timing. But on old school stuff, like the motor that's in the 63, there's an actual timing tab that tells you how many degrees after or before you are. And you use a timing light, and let's say you wanted 8 degrees advance, then whenever you're at 8 degrees advance, this would the light would shine it whenever it's at 0. So since we don't have a timing tab, we got to do it this way. Plus, it just makes it easier to see.
You're kind of a little bit off there on that. Mm-hmm. You're kind of right, but you're kind of wrong. So since this is a vortec engine, but we're going to a HEI distributor and eliminating the computer, the timing light that I have has a dial on it. So we're going to use the groove in the pulley with the little pointer that's on the vortec timing cover, and then we can just use that and the dial on the timing light to set base timing and how much advance we want in it. But we need marks that you can see easily, so that's why he's doing this.
we have the tool here set up to push on the harmonic balancer. And the way this works is the end of this threads into the main crank bolt, and then there's a nut on here with a washer that pushes up against the balancer to push it on there. Goes on fairly easily, so you should be able to know whenever it's on because it will burn out.
And you should also do what?
Grease up the sleeve that goes inside of the front seal, and then the inside of this, which I did, I'm not sure if you have to, on where it goes onto the crank.
And what else do you need to make sure of?
That the keyway is lined up with the slot inside the sleeve.
Very good. As you were. There you go.
Alright, we put the balancer on, but we had to put the crank pulley on first before we could put in the big center crank bolt, because the way this is designed with the big washer, it can't go on first. So I already torqued these down, and for this bolt is 74 foot-pounds, and I put a dab of blue Loctite on there because it's kind of important. So it's 5/8 socket.
Eat your Wheaties, son. There you go. Good job.
Alright, we have the water pump ready to go. It's nice and painted with nice new Velcro gaskets, and we put a little bit of Permatex on here. So and there's a little bit of Permatex on these bolts too, because they go in the water jackets. So just gotta. Let's jump. $30 foot-pounds, 9/16 socket. Is it a salad?
Well, it's going on lunchtime, so I figured I'd have the hops and barley salad.
Did.
Mm-hmm.
One eternity later.
Alrighty, the water pump bolts struck down to 30 foot-pounds, and it's nice and on there. So that's one more piece of the puzzle. Next step is to put on the water pump pulley, and since there's nothing to hold this, we're just gonna use medium or air impact, and we'll be fine.
Cool.
Alright, I have the vortec intake here that we bought. It just bolts to the vortec heads, but instead of having that stupid plastic thing on top, you actually have a place to bolt a carb on. So what I've done is I've soaked it down in mean green to get rid of some of the filthiness that's on here and clean it up and make it look pretty. Alright, it's all cleaned up and it's looking much nicer than it did before. Alright, we've put on the gasket maker to the china rails, and then we use some with the gasket maker to stick the gaskets onto the heads. Let it sit for a little bit, so now it's time to plop it on there very gently, because we used what was left of a tube and there is absolutely none left in there. So,
No pressure.
yeah, no pressure. intake is now on, but we did not torque it down yet because we got to give time for the RTV on the China rails to set up before we torque it. So in the meantime, we're going to put on the valve covers, which are just 4 bolts in the center on each side. The book calls for 106 inch-pounds. We're doing 110 because it shouldn't make that much of a difference. I'm going to start from the inside and work my way out to help give even squish on the rubber gasket. I guess silicone, whatever material it's made out of.
And your valve covers are on.
Alright, in order to plug open holes, we don't need them yet, but we put the spark plugs in. We used NGK V-Power TR55s. We did have to do a little regapping because we're not using the vortec distributor and can or computer. Originally they were .060. We took them down to .040 because we're going to be using a traditional AGI. There we go. Boom. Alright everyone, we've let this sit for a day to let the Permatex on the China rails kind of set up because it's cold outside. If we tried to do it yesterday, it was still sticky by the time we went inside. So now it's a little more set up. When you're torquing these down, you have to go through a certain sequence, which is in the Haynes manual. I took a picture of it. And then there's 3 steps that it wants you to do it in. It is 27 inch-pounds, then 106 inch-pounds, and then step 3 is 11 foot-pounds. But we're going to do 15 just because for sealing purposes.
And it's an aftermarket intake, and we're getting varying results. This intake was purchased at a swap meet with no instructions, so it'll either seal or it won't.
Up to
106.
106. And we're going to do 11 foot-pounds before we do the full 15 foot-pounds. Essentially, it's kind of like a star pattern whenever you're putting on a wheel. Inside out.
Typically, you always start at the center and work your way out with anything.
Okay, so 15. Okay, it's 15 foot-pounds. Alright. Now that the intake has been torqued down, we can go ahead and put on our thermostat housing, which we have a blue reusable gasket from Summit and a 180 thermostat. And there's no specific torque spec on these, just tight. Don't get carried away. You can always go back and tighten them up more, but you can't break them off. Okay, should do. Alright, we have pre-filled the filter and put it on there, and now I'm putting oil in the motor because then we're going to bring it over to our run stand and hook up the oil pressure gauge, put the primer in it, and see how much pressure it puts out, and make sure everything's flowing properly.
What else have you done?
Put on the dipstick tube, because the way these are designed, there's spark plug holders that are attached to them and they board on the side of the head. And someone had chopped that off, so we just bent that some more, drilled a hole in it, and put the bolt back in it, and now it's on there, nice and good. We have the primer tool in here. It's an old distributor that we crafted into a primer. We ground down the teeth where the cam meets the distributor gear, took off the top, and then we were able to attach a drill to it. So it'll spin the oil pump without grinding down teeth on the cam. Then on the run stand, we hooked up the oil pressure tube. So just hit this and get pressure. What do you got?
55 at the moment.
Alright everyone, next up is the distributor, and the rotor is going to point kind of towards number 1 whenever it goes in here.
Not quite yet.
It is going to port towards number 1 because we have it rotated over to TDC right now. So what you got to do is you just got to line up the oil pump shaft and the cam gears, and it should fall right into place. No way. Nuh-uh.
That was way too easy.
Nuh-uh.
Don't pull it out.
Wow. Okay. Well, usually that's more of a fight, but it's in.
The oil pump drive shaft must have been lined up.
Must have been. Perfect. Alright everyone, we're back after a brief intermission to the hold down back on. We thought we were a tooth off, but then we spun it back another tooth and it was pointing more towards 3 than it was 1, so spun it back, put the cap on, marked 1, so now we're going to hold down on. And then there's dog.
Shop supervisor parking.
Making sure nobody gets us.
That's good.
Yeah. It's got a red rotor and a red cap, so it's
20 more horsepower.
20 horse pressures right there.
It's almost like a turbo, only different.
There we go. Oh, wait. Gotta make it really official. Look at that,
Don't
eh?
forget your other one.
Ooh.
This can go in there for now so it don't get lost. Look at that.
Look at that.
Alright, moving right along.
Yep. Alright everyone, today we're going to be putting in the remain, which we're going to use a cup to drive it in evenly because it can't be off to one side or the other. And Felpro supplies you with an installer tool that goes around the outside of the crank to protect the inside of the seal. And they said to install it dry, but we did put just a thin smear of grease on the inside of this, not the outside where it goes into the aluminum, but the inside that goes around the crank. So just gonna use this cup to drive it on evenly. Maybe. Alright everyone, we have our new remain in here. The old one wasn't leaking, but just as a precautionary measure, because replace one you have to pull the whole transmission out, and then the next time I'm sure that isn't very easy. So, cheap insurance, we put a new one in. And next is the flex plate. And we're going to put it back on the engine stand. And for now, that's about it. And whenever you put this on, as you can see, between two of the bolt holes, there is a smaller hole that this dowel lines up with. So whenever it goes on, it's got to go on like this. And the weights face inward. There we go.
So what are you going to do with the bolts?
I'm going to put a little bit of glue Loctite on there, and then we're going to torque them down to 75 foot-pounds. But before I do that, I'm going to run them in with the drill, so they're seated, and it won't take as long to run them in with torque them.
Clearly not. And you're going to tighten those in the star pattern, right?
That is correct.
All right. 1.
6! And I can't count any higher than that because I went to bank metal.
So what are you doing now?
Well, I'm putting these headers on because to make the spark plug wires, they need to be on here so that we can route them correctly to avoid heat. Alright, we're at the stage of the game now. After we put the headers on, we're going to make plug wires, and we already pre-measured the one for number 6 because we already did the one for 8. So as you can see, I have 2 lines here. This line here is going to be where I cut it, and then on this line is where I'm going to strip the wire to make the crimp to put it on the distributor.
Play pro ball.
Ha ha ha. There we go. Alright. Now we have the silver thing that pops down over the distributor where this black little line is. And these tabs that stick out, you fold this down. Okay, and then you take the wire, stick it into about there. And you squeeze, and this is a ratchety one, so until you make a full squeeze, then it won't let go. And there we go.
Okay. So then
Take one of the boots, put a little bit of dielectric grease in there to get it possible to slide over.
or silicone spray, whatever.
Or silicone spray, whatever works for you. Whatever you have laying around.
We're just using this up because it came in the kit. So.
And we already have plenty, so. Okay, and then you gotta get this started over, which is the hard part. Alright, then you put the spark plug end on here. It can be sometimes easier said than done with headers, but it's possible.
So they call them headaches.
There we go. Okay, that one actually snapped.
Now come in front of the back wire. No. You come in front and go under it. There you go. That way we can put the holders on.
36. It's 2. Alright, plug wires are done. The holders are made to keep them in their spots. Number 2 over here was kind of tight, so we did end up having to go around the front and then over. But other than that, they all went on nice and good. Looks nice and pretty. Plenty of slack for timing adjustment. So that does that for plug wires. Alright everyone. We have the spark plug wires on, and now I'm going to start bolting on accessory brackets. We have this block of wood under here to A, support this so that the bell housing bolts aren't supporting it, and B, it's going to be on the stand for a couple months covered up before we put it in the truck. We're just getting the build done now, so whenever it comes time we can just bloop, set it right in there. So that's the reason that we have the wood under there for. So the bolts that hold on this alternator bracket, I'm going to put a little bit of anti-seize.
Because everything should have anti-seize. Hint, hint, wink, wink, nod, nod.
Lovely people of YouTube. We're gonna put in the carb studs next. And remember to put them in there. I'm gonna put just that touch of blue lock in on the threads.
Is it the right way? Probably not. Is it our way?
Yep.
Absolutely.
in, like lock them. Now, whenever we put the carb on, we're going to make sure to use glue tape on it to increase our fuel economy.
Ooh la la. Ooh, swanky. Look at that fancy thing. Show the camera that. Ooh la la. Ooh. Expensive stuff.
Actually, you got this for, well, not for free. You got
I was gonna say,
you got it for $2,000.
I spent like $3,300 to get that free carburetor, so.
But it was included with the.
Yeah, it was included. Sure it was. Yeah.
All right, got the gasket on there.
Now, when you tighten up the carburetor, it's like 15 foot-pounds, literally. It's, you don't get crazy with it. It's just snug and it's easier if you use it. Sock it if you can.
It's back onto the floor.
Anyway, yeah, you don't get stupid crazy with them. Put it in block window mode.
That would be choke open.
Yeah.
Wow, so your secondary stay open. Now we're gonna put the air cleaner on, make it look pretty. Alright. Got our stud thing, because it's not long enough, of course, so kind of had to put it in here first and then thread it. Yeah. Air cleaner is on. Alright, for now, this motor is done. We just need a couple more things to touch up on some areas like the AC delete pulley and
You're fitting for the intake, for the bypass hose.
yeah, we need to figure out something to do about this, which we think we are.
We got that figured out.
We're gonna wrap the headers
Header wrap.
with header wrap. I think we're gonna have to do a little modification here to make the dipstick work. I think that's,
PCV valve.
yeah,
Other than that,
that's it.
we're good to go.
So, hope you enjoyed part 2 of this rebuild. Make sure you like, subscribe, share. Stick around for more.
And I'm pretty proud of him for doing this. And I hope that all the viewers out there are proud of a 15-year-old doing all of this stuff too. And anybody else out there that has kids that are into this, please groom them and teach them and stuff, because again, this is a dying art. So
Alrighty, that's a wrap.